Hello guys, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. As you can see, I'm down here on one knee on the floor. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to be kind of tacking up today in the video. This guy right here, this is a rack that lawn care services and companies use to put like their weed whackers and whatnot on the back of their flatbed trailer, or even if they have enclosed trailers, they'll use something similar to this on the walls to mount their weed whackers and their different equipment that they use. So just kind of a long story short, my brother was this guy told my brother he's gonna give him a trailer. My brother works with this guy, in the summertime, cutting lawns and doing the other lawn care stuff that they do. And my brother has had his own lawn care service for a number of years, and he bought a new flatbed trailer, for his zero-turn lawnmowers and all that stuff. Let a friend of ours use it. The friend was driving the truck with the trailer attached to the back. Some lady ahead of him slammed on her brakes, so our friend slammed on his brakes, and he had his zero turn and some other lawnmowers on the back, and everything kind of shifted forward and bent the arms going to my brother's tongue that attached to the truck's hitch. And so it bent the arms. The arms were straight, and after he slammed on brakes, the arms were going on an upward angle. So the trailer's been sitting in my brother's backyard for about 8 years. And like I said, he bought it brand new, let this guy use it a few times for his lawn care service because the other guy didn't want to buy one. And so he damaged my brother's and told him that he was gonna, pay him some money to get it fixed and all this stuff. But it's been sitting in the backyard for like 8 years. And so what I decided to do, and going back to the other guy that he works for now, the guy said he was gonna give my brother the trailer. And now all of a sudden, my brother told him that he was going to be helping him with his lawn care service, and then he's going to do his own. The guy all of a sudden now wants my brother to pay him for the trailer. At first it was like a gift, but now he wants him to pay. So I told my brother, as opposed to paying this guy for that trailer, why don't we get your trailer out of your backyard? We'll fix it and do what needs to be done to get yours back on the road. And so he kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then he decided, let's go ahead and do it. So what I did with this bent tongue portion on the trailer, we tried to use heat to bend it down, but the arms on the tongue, their L brackets, they stretched when it bent. So what I did was we got a floor jack. We took the tongue, put it under his hitch on his truck, my brother's truck, took the floor jack and started jacking the trailer up underneath the trailer deck with the floor jack. And that put enough force on those arms after he was jacking it up, because the arms couldn't raise because they were underneath his truck, underneath his the hitch. The trailer's here. So he was jacking the trailer up right underneath the edge of the trailer, and with the arms and the tongue going out under his hitch, they couldn't go any higher. So the trailer kept raising up until the arms straightened out. But I knew that where the L bracket stretched from being bent up, I was gonna have to cut that out. Hammer it back in line, cut maybe a little pie shape out of it, and then weld it back up, and I'll put some braces across it just to strengthen it up even more. So that's a project I'll be doing tomorrow. We got the arm straightened out enough for him to drive it from his house to my shop, so we can go ahead and do everything properly, weld it up and everything. But the trailer that my brother's he decided to give the guy back the trailer that the guy now wants him to pay him money for. So he's gonna get that back. But the thing on the guy's trailer that my brother liked were these holders or brackets, if you will, because his trailer does not have these brackets. So you would have two brackets on here, one toward the front and one about 4 feet coming back towards the center of the trailer on the little rails that's on the side. And so you would have like the front of your weed whacker resting in here, and then the portion of the weed whackers, you get the handle, the trigger, and all that stuff. It'll be resting on the other one that's going to be about 4 feet behind this one. So they'll sit down in these little arms here and rest in there. And then if you can see, they have these little tabs here, and what these do is they'll close, and they close them to position here. So the weed whacker or whatever it is sitting in here. You have one in here and one in the back upright. So if someone comes to try and steal it, they can't get it out because it's locked in. And the way it's locked in is on the top. If you can see this thing pivots. This arm here on the top pivots. It has a hole in it, and this side has a hole in it. And so you insert your weed whackers and all that stuff in here. Then you take this top and you close it. And then you put your lock through these holes, and it locks this whole thing together. And so they can't just come along and just take the weed whackers out. It will take work to get the thing out, because first you got to get around all this stuff. And the difference between mine and the ones on the guy's trailer, the manufactured ones, is they used like some 316 here and there. And this is a channel iron. Theirs was I think it's like maybe 3/16. This whole piece was like 3/16. They put it on the brake and just bent it. This is a 1/4 inch. Their tabs are maybe 3/16. My tabs are, or these upright things here, 1/4 inch. Theirs here is maybe 3/16, maybe not even that much. These are 1/4 inch. And then their rod is 1/2 inch, where mine is 5/8 inch. So everything on this one is just heavy duty. So if someone is going to try and come and take his weed whacker and his other lawn tools, they're going to have some work to do. So what I'm going to do today is just kind of show you guys is how I kind of put this together. I took the idea from the manufactured ones, but just changed it and made it a lot better. So I'm gonna move the camera in so you guys can get a better look at this. All right, guys, I'm back. I don't know how well you can see me, but that's fine. I want you to see the important stuff here. So I have these 3 pieces here. These probably a 45-degree angle, somewhere in there. I have 3 of these, which they look like this. This is what they look like. They're 1/4 inch. They're about 7 inches long. And I have my bend right about 3.5 inches. This is the portion that's going to mount to the body here. And this is a portion that's upright. I've rounded the edges off a little bit. And this has a little angle on it. So when I lay it flat, so when this is flat, this is going to have the same angle as this portion here. As you can see, the way these are laying, this will be laying the same way. So I have 3 of these. And then these little, I guess you can call them tongues, but they're like a safety arm, if you will. They lock everything in place. I've cut out 3 of these, and these are 3 inches long by, this is a 1 3/4 inches wide by, like I said, 1/4 inch width, and they're 3 inches long. So I have 3 of these cut out, as you can see. And then the top portion that rotates when I rotate this and locks, I have 2 of these cut out. These are, I think they're 3/8 thickness. They are inch, what is this? These are 1.5 inches wide this way. I think it's 7 inches, to be sure. No, they're 5.5 inches in length, and like I said, like 3/16 thickness. And if you notice the holes here, I have this top hole is a 1/2 inch diameter, and the bottom hole is a little bit over 5/8, because this 1/2 inch is going to be the locking portion. You can put your lock through here and lock it, and then this 5/8, this back portion, will be on the rod at the very top, swiveling. And the reason I have 2 of these is this first one will be welded to the front of this, and that rod will go through there, and then the rod will go into this one, and I will weld the top of that rod to the top one, so this one will pivot with the rod. The rod will move with this top piece. The lower piece will be stationary. It's welded to the body, if you will, of this. So I have a stationary one, and then I have one that pivots. And the last couple things I have is this is a 5/8 rod, solid rod, by 2 feet long. And then I have just some this is, I think, the 1/8 wall round tube, and it's just over 5/8, just a little bit of play on it, so just slide up and down. It won't bind up. And I have so I have one on the bottom here, and I'll have one somewhere in this area. It's going to be in this position here, and I have the other one on the bottom. And the reason I have this taped on here is because this tube goes between this safety arm, I'm going to call it a safety arm, this safety arm and this safety arm. And the problem is if I weld these safety arms on and not put this tube on there, I'm going to have to cut this arm off in order to slide that tube on there. So I have it taped on here just as a, just to remind me that I have to have this thing on here. Now this bottom one, like the one in this position, it just slides on. So I'm not concerned about that. It's just this one that I'm concerned about. And so I have this position here is at about 6.5 inches from the very top. This one is 16.5 inches from the top, and then this one is 26.5 inches from the top. And when I say top, I mean this portion up in here. I can't remember if I measured off of the very top one, or the inside one. I have to look, have to check my notes and just see exactly what I did, so I can give you guys a heads up on it. And this is heavy. This is a 1/4 inch channel. They're 4 feet long. And so 4 feet long by 1.5. So it's 1.5 depth, if you will. 3 inches wide, 4 feet long. And again, I got the measurements off of the manufactured one, but again, mine is different from theirs, a lot more robust. Because whenever I make something like this, I want it to be, heavy duty. I don't want, if the wind blows it, it'll bend. So, all right. So, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I put my rods and everything on the proper side. Now on this one, my rod is on the right side, so on the inside, because this will be the front. So the one on the back, I have to reverse everything. I have to put the rod on this side, and these little safety tongues will be on this side, rotating in and out. It's just the way it's designed. So I just want to do it like it was done, from the manufacturer. It just makes it easier. The lock will be on the outside here, and on the rear, the lock will be on the outside, but on the back side, towards the back of the trailer. And so what I did was I made my first line. I'm going to move you guys in even closer so you can get right up on this, so you can kind of see my lines and see exactly what I'm doing here. Hold on one sec. All right, so I have my first line penciled in at, I can put these guys here on. So it was without this second piece. Now again, this is 3/16. I hope I wasn't saying 3/8, but this is 3/16 thick on this piece. So you have these two top pieces are 3/16. I mean, you can use 1/4 inch if you want, but I use 3/16. I think that's enough for what this is going to do. So I'm using just a 1/3/16 piece to get my measurement to put these brackets, if you will, in position. So the first one, I have a mark at 6.5. The next mark, pencil mark, if you can see it, is 16.5. And then my bottom mark is at 26.5. And this is 3 inches, wide. So I just measured in to 1.5 inches to split it down the middle. 1.5. One and a half here. It's better to get just a regular wood ruler, because when you use a tape measure, it has this little hook on the end, and it can throw your measurement off by a 1/16 or so sometime. So I'm just going to use this, just a wooden ruler to remeasure. So I want to be pretty accurate. So the center mark is, like I said, 1.5. Got that mark. Okay, I got this mark at 1.5. And then my top mark, I have it at 1.5. And then for me, I mean, it's not necessary, but I used a soapstone to put these white lines, because these uprights, if you will, are 1¼ inches, widthwise. So in order to get these centered, I know that my center point is 1½, but I want to find center for these guys. So I just put it here, and I have 7/8 on this side and 7/8 on this side. So I know I need 7/8 spacing from this outer edge to where it touches this, and then from where it touches this to the outer edge on this side, I need 7/8, and that will center it up. And so what I did was I just put a couple marks, got a straight edge, and just ran this soapstone white line all the way up 7/8 of an inch from this wall here, and 7/8 of an inch from the wall on this side, all the way down, so that when I put these on, I can kind of look down this at those marks, and I'll know I'm somewhere centered. So this is not pointing off toward, the left or right, but it's centered, because I want this to look professional, like it came from a manufacturer. So I get 6½, 16½, and 26½. My marks, since this is 3-inch, I'm at 1½ on center, and then I came off the center in order to find my outer edges. So I came off from this outer wall 7/8 and 7/8 on this side. And the reason I want this at 6½, it's because I do not want this top portion to protrude beyond the top of this. Because if this is sticking out further than the top of this, when I try and pivot that lock mechanism, it'll hit this, and I won't be able to will not be able to open it. So I want to make sure I keep this on my on the lines that I have drawn out. So now this is kind of a puzzle piece to put together, and so I really have to. I'll be focusing on what I'm doing as I'm doing it, but I want you guys to know, what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put these tabs on, so you guys can see, how I did that. Okay, guys. So in order to get these tongues to be straight, because when they're in this position, they're all not perfectly, but they're really close to perfect, to being all on the same line. Because when I rotate this to touch these, I want them all to touch at the same time. I don't want one halfway back here and one up there and this one somewhere back here. I want them all to be, as perfect as I can get them. So this rod is, like I said, 5/8. These are 1/4 inch thick. So what I did was got this piece of flat bar. And then this is it's a little bit over 1/4 inch. So these are just over 1/4 inch. So maybe 5/16 somewhere in there. Yeah, we'll call these 5/16. So these are 5/16. These are 1/4 inch. So this is a 5/16 rod, or this flat bar that I'm using. I'm going to put this on the table, and I'll when I get it to water, I'm gonna have it coming this way. But I have lines in here, if you can see, and this is the top. There's a top mark going this way, so this piece will be right up to that mark, flat on that line. And the second one will be at this mark, following this line, and then the third one will be down here. And so that's why I had to get this, make sure I had this between these two before I watered them on. Now, I can't just stand these like this and start tack watering, because when I lay it down, it could be in any position. So what I came up with was using this flat bar. I laid it on the table. Make sure there's no debris under here. So I laid it on the table, laid the flat bar on the table, and now I just have to run these pieces up to my line going this way. And now I know that these are going to be in the same position, because they're laying flat on here and they're just laying up against this. And I have this piece here, this piece of tube here, and I have a piece of tube down here. And so I know that when I weld these on, they're going to be, you know, as straight as they can get. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it this way so I can see the lines, you know, as best I can. Then I'll tack, then I'll flip it back over, put a couple tacks on the other side, and then I'll water it up from there. And I have my marks on here because I kind of know where I need to be, you know, with this piece, because I welded some pieces up. I had to cut some pieces back off, re-weld them, because, like, for example, I had my tubes, they were sitting up too high. And so this right now is sticking out maybe 1/4 of an inch, this top portion, sticking out maybe 1/4 of an inch beyond the flat body portion here. It has a little lip on it. So, but before, it was almost a 1/2 inch of this sticking up, because I had these tubes welded way up here toward the very top of this. And so these were overhanging this by maybe, I don't know, almost 3/8 of an inch. And then this thing was sticking out probably 3/8 of an inch. Maybe another 1/4 inch or so higher than what it is now. And when I looked at it, I mean, it worked fine, but it was taking up a lot of space up here, and I didn't know if there would be enough space to get, you know, all the tubes in without constantly bumping into that thing. So I cut this back off, took the tubes off, I had just tacked the tubes on, lowered everything, and then welded everything back up. So I have a pretty good idea now of where I want everything to be. So let me go ahead and turn my welder on and get my helmet and everything on. And I'll be using the TIG welder to tack these up. And I'm going to use my these clamps to clamp these down, because when I tack them here, I don't want them to try and raise up. I need them to stay flat. I'm just looking at my lines on here, and if you don't have a fixture table, that's okay. You just use what you have and just work what you have. I think I feel safe enough now to take that tape off at least. So I want to move this further up this way so this won't rock. It took a while to figure it out, to make it like I wanted to make it. So it took a little time, but once I figured out exactly how I wanted to do it, wasn't difficult at all. So my water is set at 125 amps. I don't necessarily need to be that hot. So I won't be full pedal, I'm sure. I'm using ER70S6 332nd rod, somewhere in there. So I'm just going to put a couple tacks here. Just make sure this is lined up like I want it. All right, 1, 2. And if I didn't have this clamp here, it would raise up, coming up this way, just from the heat. And do the same thing over here. If I can get it lined up. Here we go. And since my rod is 5/8, my safety arms, 1/4 wrench, I'm putting most of my heat on that rod. All right, let me put my last piece on. Just making sure this guy is in the center. Then I gotta make sure this is not going to be above this one. I got to make sure this goes down here so I get it out of my way. Now I'm going to bring this one in. And just because of the weight, this could raise up just a touch. So I'm gonna clamp it down, make sure it doesn't like rotate at all. So I'm gonna lock this one in place. And then get this lined up. Put my little marks on there. If I can find a location that will do it. All right, now I'll tack this and then I'll flip it over. Actually, I think I'm gonna go with 3 tacks on this side. So when I flip it over, I'll tack that up and then weld that side and then come back and finish this side. So I'll put one more tack here. And I really dislike when people come and try to steal people's stuff that people have worked for, and they want to just be able to walk up to these guys' trailers and just take the stuff off the trailer that these guys will work for. That's why I make this. This is so durable and heavy duty, because I hate when people steal from people, and they'll have to have cut off wheels and everything to get this thing loose. But the thing is, by the time they fire the cutoff wheels up, my brother will be outside on top of them. And that's exactly what I want. All right, so I'm gonna run, let's go ahead and run a bead here. Well, let me clamp this down a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and run a full bead on this side. All right, next. Like I've said in other videos, guys, if you see something that you like, you don't want to spend the money for it, just make something similar. That's all you have to do. Like, I didn't just take their blueprint and copy it. I made it better. I changed up some stuff that I thought would be better. Just staying right in the little seam here. Just watching the puddle roll forward. All right, that's that one. Go ahead and flip it. And I'm done with this for right now. I guess I'll use it just to keep these a little bit more up, because they want the whole thing wants to flop onto the table. So I'll just kind of keep them up like this. Go out to the edge out here. And watch my arm while I just weld it, because it's hot over there. It's welding a lot faster because it's already, everything is nice and preheated. Like I always say, guys, when you're welding stuff like this and you've already welded on this end, watch your arms on this stuff. It's hot. Really, really, really hot. All right. So what I'll do now, is weld in these areas here. All 6 of them. I'll close this off. Let me grab my little vise. Okay, I'm all done with this. These vices really come in handy. So what I'll do is I'll just weld right in here, and I'll get the outside, and I'll flip it and do the other areas. And all I'm doing is just wrapping the weld right around it. So I do not want to have any weak areas. I would imagine he's gonna either paint these or clear coat them, one or the other. Or he might just let them rust. I'm not sure exactly what he wants to do. But these will last, I don't know, 30, 40 years because the metal is so thick. And they're in an upright position, so it won't be like water laying on them. Water will just run off. All right, guys. So this portion is done, and they're all lined up, looking down. If I can get the camera. If you can look down the piece, they're all in the same position, up and down. They're not, one twisting one way, one twisting the other way. And I did remember to keep this in between. You see this right here? If this wasn't welded on, I would have to cut this off in order to get this thing on there. That's why I just kind of taped it on there as a reminder. This is a 4-inch Irwin vise, table vise, or drill press vise, if you will. But I use it on a drill press sometime, but mostly I use it on the table when I'm doing stuff like this. Really come in handy. I think I got that one from Lowe's, I believe it was. All right, so now. So the next thing that I will do is I got to find on here where to put these tabs. And I even have a note to myself. Right side, I have a rod, I have an arrow pointing this way, and I have the lock pointing this way. So when I put these on, I will remember to put the wide hole on the inside and the lock on the outside, the opposite of that. Just a lot of notes to myself because this can get kind of confusing after a while. So I think this is, I'll measure it. It doesn't have to be exact, but I want them to be as exact as possible because they'll be at the most 4 feet away from each other. And I want them to look the same. Get my gloves on here. I think this one is 9 1/4. Yep. This top of this one is 9 1/4 from the very top of this. Then the next one is 22 7/8. Doesn't have to be exact, but somewhere close. So what I'm going to do is mark it. I'll just stand these here. I even have a piece of tape here that says rod on this side. Just reminders, guys. I would hate to put this whole thing together and you have to take it apart because I didn't do something correctly. And like I said, you can do it the opposite way, but it just works better with the rods being on the inside together. All right, let me see what I got here. I think I said 9 1/4. So I want one right there. And the other one was 22 7/8, I believe. I will put a mark, but I will check it again just to be sure. 22 7/8. 22 7/8. And I'm talking about the very top of these rods will be at those marked locations. This thing is still really, really, really hot. And when I weld these, guys, I'm not just laying this on a table and welding it, because when you close it, it'll hit the edge of this, so it has to be raised up. So this will clear that when it closes like this. It has to be able to clear this. It has to be able to contact this before it hits the upper edge of this body piece. So what I use, what is this? This is 5/8. This is a 5/8 flat bar. I just read the number on here. Let me get my measurement. Be sure. But this is 3/8. Part of the number is kind of scratched off. But this is a 3/8 rod. That I will be laying on the table right against the piece. And then I'll set these tubes. I'm primarily concerned about the tubes. I'm putting the tubes on top of this. I'll put them on their line. Then I'll tack the tubes. And then after that, I'll put these into position and weld these on. And like I said, when I was welding this one the first time, I had my tubes way up here. So what that did was brought this piece way up here, this high. So it'd be hard for when they're trying to take the tool out of this upper piece, it would possibly hit the inside edge of this. So I had to lower it, cut everything, and I'm glad I just tacked these on. But I had fully welded this, so I had to go in and cut all that out, re-weld it after I repositioned it. So now I know that I can't have this up too high. So I just 3/8 off of the table should work fine. But I'm gonna check it one more time on this side just to make sure this is the piece I use. So I have so many pieces of flat bar laying around here. Yep, that's the one I used. Let me make sure there's no debris under here. And this one is going together a lot faster than the other one, or than this one, because I was just working my way through it. It was a puzzle. I mean, it took hours just to decide what piece to put on first, because you got so many different, pieces going on here. And you have to be able to get to those areas to weld and all this kind of stuff. So, all right, let me see what I got here. And now this is going to slide into this portion here, into this 5/8 portion here. It'll be welded from the top of this. The bottom one will be welded to the body of this, and this top one will float with this. I was going to TIG weld these on, but I decided to just go ahead and just make weld them. Certain areas I make weld, like this section here. On the inside I TIG weld it, and then on these tubes I was going to TIG weld, but I decided to make weld. And then on this upper inner plate here, I MIG welded that. It's just easier to get to it with the MIG welder. So I'm just gonna put the top of this tube right to that line I drew. And then do the same thing down here. Put it right on the magic marker lines. Go ahead and turn my my TIG welder off. I just fired up the MIG welder. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get like 2 tacks here, 2 tacks here, and then flip it over and put the other couple tacks on the back side. Then I'll go ahead and weld it up. I'm just making sure I'm doing everything the way I should be doing it. I don't want to rush, because I do not want to take this thing apart. All right, here we go. I gotta make sure I don't weld the rod to that while I'm welding those little spots. All right, what I'll do now is just flip it over and weld it, tack it from the back side. And you just rotate this, make sure it's free and it's not binding. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and just weld this in, then I'll flip it back and weld the other side. Get my little light going. Alright, got that welded. I'll flip it back over. to have some spatter on it somewhere because it's kind of binding up a little bit. Did the same thing with the other one. Has spatter somewhere on it. All right, I think I'm gonna turn it the other way so I can see it. And all I'm doing, guys, is just going right in the seam. All right. All right, got that. Hit one more little spot right here. All right. Just had to work it back and forth. I get spatter somewhere, but it'll be okay. You gotta give it a little chance to cool down as well. The other one was the same way. Had to keep working it back and forth. And these rods are probably not exactly completely straight. I mean, they're straight, but not perfectly straight. I know, because I found that out with the other one. Had a little bit of movement to it. But that's okay. It's not going to be a constant pivot. It's just open it up, get the tool out, close it back, lock it. That's all. All right, so now with this one, I have lock written on here, just to remind me that this side is for the lock, and this side, of course, is for the rod side. Now, before I decided to use the 5/8 rod, I was going to have both sides of these holes 1/2 inch. That's why I put lock side on this side, because I want this to be the lock side. But then I decided to go with 5/8 holes. I really don't need this lock written on here now, because I know which side is which now. So let me go ahead and put this up here. And then the trick here is to not weld this top portion on here with this bottom portion. Make sure you remove that top portion off of here. And then you take this, pivot it, and move off kind of off the table a little bit here. I just want to know what it's going to feel like. Not too bad. Because this one, the rod in that area, somewhere along here was a little bit, had just a slight bend to it. So when I would rotate these, this bottom plate would shift just a little bit. So I had to play with these arms and get this bottom plate to where I thought it was kind of center. Then I just tacked it up at that point. Because what can happen is if these arms are bent, when you rotate them, it could rotate out that way, and then it'll rotate in, up, down, so it'll have your plate all over the place. So you just kind of have to know what your plate is going to do when this thing kind of rotates. And then, like these holes on here are a little bit larger than the 5/8. You have to give a little bit of play. But if you weld it, because another thing that I did with this first one is when I put it on, I noticed this rod was pulling back this way a little bit. So what I did was took the plate, pushed it forward, and tacked it. And then I tried to rotate this rod, a lot of resistance. I mean, a lot of resistance. And I couldn't rotate it back and forth, loosen it. It was just too tight. So I had to break the tacks, slide this back, rotate this, find that sweet spot, and then tack it back. So I have to kind of do the same thing here, but this appears to be a lot straighter than the other one. It raises up a little bit, but that's okay. I can work with that. So now I'm gonna take this little guy here, slide it under here, because on this end it's kind of elevated. Let me see where I'm at here. Okay, that's on the table. Let me see. And what I'm looking at, guys, is this little gap on the bottom of this against that table. It raises up. If you can see right now, this won't go underneath. But when I rotate this, it raises this up. So now this can slide underneath it. And this is like a 16th, maybe a 14 gauge. So I'm not dealing with too much of a gap here. I think I'll go with when it's closed. So what I'll do now is just put a couple tacks here. And I really don't want to tack with this being here, so I don't want to get spatter on it. But it's not that big of a deal. I can get it off. Let me go and put a tack here. And if you see the tack broke, so there was a little bit of stress there. I didn't tack it up that tight, which is a good thing. So let me get my grinder and just grind it down. All right, let me hit that tack again. All right, so that's that. I think I'm gonna have to make this a two-part video because it's gonna take a little bit longer than I thought, because I really want to be able to show you guys how to do this and me not having to rush through it. Just let me move this camera out, and I'm going to close the video out, and we'll do it part 2 on this one. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. This will be part 1, so you have to tune in next week for part 2, because it's going to take a little bit longer than what I thought, and I do not want to have to rush through it. I want you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, moving through, to the completion. But I wanted to do it in one take, but it's going to take a little bit too long, because I want to just, like I say, slow everything down so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. But guys, it's going to do it for this one, and hopefully you'll tune into part 2 of the trailer rack project, I guess we'll call it. But I hope to see you on the next one, guys. And as usual, peace out.